recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in support of LB 670. 2 years ago, I thought of myself as just a taxpayer, and I didn't like the credit, and it was going to be a budget buster. After another 2 years here, I have come to the conclusion that LB 670 is workforce development. It's another opportunity, another expansion of ability for young people to seek an education that fits who they are, who their families are, and we need to expand educational opportunities as wide and as far as we can. I've got a list from the Department of the Revenue about all the tax credits now, the Nebraska Advantage Act. There's 3 of those, you know, about $100 million or $80 million a year. We want to expand that. Nebraska Child Dependent Care Refundable Credit, Beginning Farmer Credit, Nebraska Earned Income Credit, Angel Investment. By the way, Nebraska Earned Income Credit, that's for poor people, for opportunity. That's what LB 670 is. Angel Investment Tax Credit, credit for qualified volunteer emergency responders. School Readiness Tax Credit for qualified staff members. We give $250 to every teacher for if they buy their own pencils and paper and stuff for their classroom. So we do tax credits. All of those, I'm assuming some would think that there's only taxes and funding schools, but I don't see the relationship to LB 670 and anything to do with public schools. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. A public school is where the state does our constitutional duty to supply free instruction in our common schools. We do that. What child walks in the door in September or late August has nothing to do with that government employees in that building. We send the students there who the parents bring to them. If a student decides to go a different path, that's absolutely not a concern of the government employees in the public school system. It's not. We do have freedoms. We do have choices in this country. This takes absolutely no money from public education whatsoever. That is an entirely different budget factor that we deal with here. This is giving opportunity. I called my local St. Pat's. They've dropped since 14 from 412 students to 342. Why? Because parents come in crying into the office they can't afford a tuition of $4,160. That's for one student. If they have multiple students, they get the whole package for $7,100. They can't afford it. We're taking opportunity away from children because we refuse to help. This is not a competition between private and public schools. Not at all. Did you know that every bill that comes to the Education Committee concerning education also lists private schools? Did you know that every private school has to follow Rule 10 because it affects our children? It's not just the public schools. This is about opportunity. This is about freedom. Why would you deny somebody a chance? Why would you deny a young child who wants to follow their faith and a parent who wants their beliefs taught, that they could combine that along with their education? Why wouldn't you allow somebody to help them? This has absolutely nothing to do with public education. Read the bill. You quote me the phrase where it mentions public schools. You quote me the section that talks about aid to public schools. You show it to me. This has to do with opportunity. This happens to deal with parents and their rights as parents to what education they want their children to have. This actually saves money. This saves money for the state. If your state budget is all you're worried about, every child that goes off to one of these schools at $2,000 to $3,000 or whatever it is, tuition, they get a bonus. It saves the taxpayers in equalization aid $8,000 to $10,000. So, if that saves, and we're going to budget for public education anyway, that means more money for the rest of them. How does that hurt public education? I don't want to talk conspiracies, but this is about
Time, Senator.